Welcome everybody to Pro Mindset Podcast. This is your host, Craig Doman. Today we have a special guest, a young lady who's done probably more climbing of mountains than anybody that's listening. She's summited 7 mountains that are the second highest mountains on 7 different continents. She's an author, a mother of 7. There's some parallelisms there. 7 mountains, 7 kids. Her name is Jenn Drummond. Jenn, welcome to Pro Mindset.
Hey, thanks for having me. So fun story, 7 children, 7 mountains, 7 continents. So when it was pitched to me as a project, it was like the jackpot, right?
777.
777.
I think I'm even nervous to talk to you today because you've accomplished so much in terms of just doing something that people think about, but they don't do it. Everybody thinks about doing something unique and special and hard, but very few people are willing to take the steps necessary to go do it. What is the driving force for you to take this from concept to reality?
Yeah, it evolved, right? It wasn't this big goal at the beginning. At the beginning, I was training for a mountain named Ama de Blanc to climb for my 40th birthday. And that was going to be the one mountain I was going to climb to launch my next decade of life. And when I was training for AMA, this little thing called COVID entered the scene. And so now I was homeschooling all beautiful 7 children of mine and not really traveling anywhere because the world shut down. And one day, one of my kids was struggling with his math homework. So I did that parent pep talk we do. We do hard things. Like, you've got this. We'll go play after you get your math done. And he was in a mood. So he looks at me and he goes, if we do hard things, why are you climbing a mountain called I'm a Dumb Blonde instead of a real mountain like Mount Everest? And it took me a second. I'm like, I'm a dumb blonde. I'm a dumb blonde. I'm a de Blanc, honey, not I'm a dumb blonde. But thank you. Finish your homework. We'll look at Everest. And so we did. And then he went to bed. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to climb Everest. And I'm going to show him whatever Everest is, we're capable of summiting. So I called a coach. Coach was like, yes, I can get you ready. Buy this book about becoming an uphill athlete. The book comes in the mail. There's a story of a lady who got a Guinness World Record in the front of it. I thought that'd be cool to get one because that's how my kids learned how to read, and homeschooling wasn't going awesome. I couldn't wait to COVID to leave so they could go back to normal school. And my coach kind of thought that was funny, took it as a challenge, and then searched for a good Guinness World Record for me and came up with the 7-second summits.
Wow. There are so many things that we are going to impact today. But the thing that I want to know is, why did this even start in the first place? Everybody hits 40 at some point in time, if they make it that far, but they usually go out and have a party. They usually go get drunk. They usually go to a nice dinner. Why did you decide to climb a mountain?
Yeah, a year and a half prior, I was in a horrific car crash. December 18, 2018. And I should have died. Like, there's no reason that I'm alive that the accident showed. The police called, they rebuilt it every way possible. There was 0 scenarios where I lived, let alone walked away. I walked away from that accident kind of having this new perspective on life. We're not here forever. How do I make the most of this? There's so many things I want to see, do, and experience before I die. So 2019 became this year of the bucket list. And I just started writing things down. I want to swim in the Great Barrier Reef. I want to taste pasta in Italy. I want to climb a mountain. I want to, do all the things. And so at the end of 2019, I was like, okay, well, I need to start doing these things, or time's going to evaporate. So when I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, well, I'm turning 40 next year. Instead of hosting that obnoxious, expensive, crazy party that all my friends host, I'm going to do something different. And so when I looked at that list, I'm like, I'm going to climb a mountain because it only gets harder as we get older. And that started that pursuit.
Okay. So for those that are novices, I've summited 2 14ers. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
In Colorado, which was a big accomplishment for a flatlander. But and my preparation was really just make sure I got a good night's sleep the night before. So my question to you is, what is the advanced work that you have to do in the dark? The time and the time under pressure where you're practicing, you're training, you're mentally getting your mind right. and you're assembling your team, you're making travel arrangements, you're simulating some of the things you're going to have to do in that climb. Perhaps maybe you're in Utah, so maybe in one of the mountains in Utah. What does that look like?
Yeah. So for me, luckily I live in Park City. And in Park City in the winter, the ski resort is closed and you can skin up, which means like put fabric on the bottom of your skis and like climb up the mountain and ski down it between 6 p.m. and 8 a.m. every day. And so for me, once the kids went down to bed, like 9 or 10 o'clock, I would go get all my gear and I would go like fill a backpack full of water bottles and I would skin up the hill and ski down and I would do laps to just train in cold, harsh, brutal weather so that when I got to the mountain, that wasn't an overwhelming piece. Because there's enough overwhelming pieces when you're in a place that no one speaks English and everything else.
Okay, so were you crazy enough to do this all by yourself, or did you have a training partner?
No, I had to do this solo because no one like, you could do the little things with people. Like, so when I had stretching days and I would do Pilates for stretching, I could have friends do that. I could have friends go on hikes with me. I would wear weighted vests, they wouldn't, and they would hike with me for a couple hours. But when I was doing the big days, nobody's interested in doing big days, right? So you're on your own, which actually is good mental training because the stories that you tell yourself are going to give you the power to continue or they're going to cause you to stop.
Okay, girl, you're talking about something that's in my lane right now, stories. Okay, I call it the pocket voice. We all have a pocket voice, and it's that little inner voice that talks to us. And we have to be careful what we say because we're always listening to what we say to ourselves. And we have a tendency to craft stories for communication with other people to make ourselves look a certain way, to be a certain, to be a certain amount of, be interesting. But the story we tell ourselves is real. It's raw. Sometimes it's ugly. Sometimes it's negative. How do you, when you're preparing for climb and when you're in the midst of a climb, manage that pocket voice so that it stays like, Jen, you got this. You've been there before. You were made for this. You trained for this. You deserve this. You're all those kind of positive affirmation type communications that you're giving you.
Yeah. So I created an avatar that I built that had the qualities to do the thing that I was trying to accomplish because I had never slept in a tent before when I took on this pursuit. So there was a lot of things to pick up. So for me, I made the persona of Mountain Barbie. And Mountain Barbie was fun and playful and didn't get scared and trained hard and ate well and slept well and was the team cheerleader and blah, 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 blah. So if I was hiking and I was in a bad spot and I was listening to a voice and it wasn't building me up, it meant I was been listening too long and now it's time to start talking back. And so the avatar needed to step in and be like, no, actually, we trained these hard days. We did these things. Like, we're meant to be here. We've got this. And so for me, it was more of a balance of communication and making sure that I was claiming what I said I was going to do. And I did the work to prove that I was prepared. So now it's just time to execute.
So, how intentional were you about creating this Mountain Barbie avatar?
Like, I have like a stick figure, like drawing on my piece of paper, right? That'd be like, here's how she trains, here's how she thinks, here's what she listens to, here's what she reads, here's what she does, here's what she wears. And like, I'd do that. Like, have you ever heard of mind movies?
I haven't heard that term together, no. But
Okay.
I've heard of visualization and I coach people on, I call it previews. It's like
Yeah.
trailers for movies.
Yeah, so I would make a movie, right? And I'd have clips from YouTube of Everest and I'd have these different pieces and I'd play like a pump up song. And so then that movie I'd play every single day and it was like 2 to 3 minutes long. And it just get me in that game mode of like, here's who I am, here's what I'm doing, I'm ready. And that just flipped the switch to go.
Okay. So let's talk about, there was a gentleman, and this is my most famous example of mind movie. He was a Vietnam POW and he was in captivity nearly 500 days. And all his comrades passed away in solitary confinement. And the reason why, one of the major reasons why he survived was he played 36 holes of golf every single day with three different friends on the same golf course with different weather conditions. He smelled the grass, fresh cut grass. He felt the wind on his face. He talked about current events with his friends like you would when you go play golf, and he made it a thing. And as a consequence, when he got out, even though he lost like 80 pounds and couldn't play golf for a while, once he got an opportunity to actually go play golf at that golf course, he shot like 18 strokes.
No, it's fascinating how much visualization plays into our success and what we do, and not just like watching the story, but I love how he engaged the senses, right? Of smelling the grass. Like I can still smell the grass on the soccer field when it's wet in the morning and you're ready to go. And that just brings you back to those moments. And you can hear the ball hit your shoelaces or the sound of the net or all the little details that just brings you into those moments because I think when you're in those moments like Everest, then it was less new things for my brain to process, right? And I already had done it. So it was like, oh, we've done this dress rehearsal a few times. So when it was time to actually execute, it felt familiar. And I knew, like, and I would listen to the clinking of the crampons on the ladder and all the little pieces. And so when it actually happened, you're like, oh, yeah, been here. We're good.
But here's the thing that I can only imagine. If you have seen yourself do it before in your mind, your body, your mind doesn't know that you haven't done it before, and your body just follows your mind. And so when you're in the moment on the mountain, you're looking for familiar because you've been there before. But if you don't visualize, your mind, when you're in that moment, your mind is looking for things that you haven't visualized before because it's like, oh, I didn't know this was going to be here. I didn't know it was going to be this steep. I didn't know the gorge was going to be this deep or this wide. So what you do by visualizing is if you can see it, if you can believe it and you can see it, you can achieve it, that whole thing. It also intentionally like puts blinders on your mind
Right.
and it gets you more focused on what you're there to accomplish instead of, I mean, can you imagine like, let's say you're an athlete and you're showing up for a game and you didn't visualize, you spend your time checking out where you're at, what the stadium looks like, what the opponent looks like. But if you've been there before, you're locked in.
Yeah. No, I think like isn't there a study out there that says visualization brings alive your reticular activation system?
Mhm.
And so then that system, like your brain is scanning like 11,000 things at any one moment. But when you program that, then it's going to look for that thing and be like, oh, okay, we're good. We were planning for this. This is what we saw. Now we're safe, or here's what we're doing. And so I think visualization plays such a key in that. That's why they talk about like manifestation and the power there. You're programming your brain to look for these things to make that opportunity happen. So when the brain scans all the information it's taking in all the time and knows what to pick up on, that you can take that next step forward and make possible.
Very well said. And that is exactly what a mind movie does.
Yeah.
It programs your mind so that you can find a way to accomplish what you saw yourself in your mind do. Let's go back to your accident. You had a very small probability of actually surviving, but you did. What was your recovery like? And what was your mindset like during that recovery process? And how long was it?
Yeah. So physically, I had almost zero recovery, like a few little things here and there, nothing big. But mentally, it was a different deal, right? It took me 9 months of driving on the highway where I finally realized I drove my mom to the airport and my heart didn't race. Right? Like, every single time I would pass a semi, even if I was like, my heart would just start racing, or like, "Oh, good, I'm okay, I'm safe." That exposure therapy and just keeping on doing the thing, eventually, I took my mom to the airport, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even, like, have a heart rate spike or anything." I wore a Whoop band because it was just so fascinating to me. Because 'cause I'm like, "Am I making this up? Is this real?" And it was real, and it was just your subconscious, like, trying to protect you or, like, be aware of what's going on. Mentally, also it was just like, why was I saved? Why am I here? What am I doing? What does this life mean? Right after my accident, about 3 weeks later, a girlfriend of mine passed away. And she passed away going running on a trail. It was wet out. She slipped, hit her head, and never came home. She actually called me to go with her. And I was like, I'm not running with you. I only like good weather runs and I'm not running in the rain. And so I'm just was metabolizing this horrific car crash and then her doing something healthy and her not being here. And really, like, the only thing I could synthesize from all of it was we don't get to choose when we die, but we sure get to choose how we live. And every day that choice is ours. And so then it was like, okay, well, how am I going to live and what am I going to do? And really, I only have, 60 years left on this planet. And 60 years isn't a lot of time when you think of all the fascinating things to see and do and experience.
No doubt. No, I love that. I love that. That is what everybody has a tendency to think, but not to act. People, what you just that whole experience you went through, all of us have gone through a similar experience, maybe not to the depth. Maybe we were not in a car wreck, but we've had this thought of we want to really live life, but then we don't do anything different. And so nothing changes. So the igniter for you was you almost lost your life and you wanted to make your life count, where we all need to almost take that as a daily devotion. Every day we should be thankful we wake up and what can we do today to make a difference on this planet because we don't know if we'll be here tomorrow.
100%. The parallel is when you climb a mountain. So say you're climbing Mount Everest and it's 29,029 feet. Every step is a choice, right? You don't roll uphill. So every time I have to say, yes, I want to go up. Yes, I want to go up. And every time there's a negotiation of, are you sure? Because it's really comfortable down at base camp. They have hot chocolate. Like, are you sure you want to go up? Like, there's less oxygen up here, right? And I think that's the metaphor for life. You don't get to pick something and say, great. You have to pick that thing every day continuously to bring it to life.
Okay, so how can you program your day, your life, your purpose so that you don't have a negotiation for every step? You don't have a negotiation for every decision. You don't have and even though we do have negotiations every day, they're not major ones, they're minor ones. They're
Yeah.
ones that we can go, a little bit of resistance, but it's not going to slow me down. Instead of that resistance that paralyzes people because it's a big decision. What is the difference between living a life where you have small negotiations that are doable compared to big negotiations that are paralyzing?
Yeah. I have this like story on speed dial that I always pull up when I'm struggling. And it was an example that I heard in a speech. And this person that was delivering the speech had everybody in the audience stand up and said, okay, I want you guys to change 36 things about yourselves right now. And everybody like laughed it off and sat back down and was like, ha ha, funny, funny. And he's like, okay, everybody stand up, change one thing. So they would put a hair in a ponytail, take off a belt, take off a shoe, do something. Okay, do one more thing. And then they would do something different. And then they had everybody sit down. And he goes, I bet if I asked you to do one thing 36 times, you'd be able to do it. But when I packaged it as one time asking you to change 36 things, it was too overwhelming. So for me, whenever I feel like overwhelmed or resistance, I ask myself, okay, how can I make this smaller? What's the tiniest thing I can do to make progress? Because those are those tiny steps that shift the big change.
Well, if you change one thing about you, regardless how big or small it is, you change you. When you change every relationship you're in. You change every room you walk into, every situation you're in, because when you're different, it's different. And so the power of one is really what that's about, right? It's like
Definitely.
we can't make these drastic overhauls, but we can make small changes so that after a period of time, you don't even recognize your former self because you're on this road to growth, advancement, expansion, all those things.
I like it. I'm here for it.
Okay, girl. All right. So here's what I'd like to do. 29,000 feet. That's crazy. What is the distance of the ascent? Like, do you start at 14? Do you start at 10? Do you start at 20?
I'm gonna have to like look that up to be honest. Like, I don't like to make things daunting, so anything that's big, I'm like, we'll just take it one step at a time." Let's see, base camp of Mount Everest is around 17,000 feet, I think.
So it's a 12,000, but it's at high altitude, low oxygen. What is the hardest thing and you have, you have a book called BreakProof, which I understand just from common sense is that how can you put yourself in a position where you don't break? You don't, we have failures, but you don't break. And you have this book that's about 7 principles that represent your 7 kids, your 7 mountains, all these things, all these sevens. Share with us your favorite one and which mountain you learned it on, and how does it apply to Monday mornings? How does it apply to the person that's listening that's never going to climb a mountain?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest lessons I took away from climbing these huge mountains is big mountains take big teams. Big goals take big teams. Big ideas take big teams. When I climbed Everest, I, like, watched and just awe of the machine that is. Like, there's people that manage the oxygen, there's people that manage the food, there's people that manage the tents, there's people that manage the weather, there's people that manage certain sections of the climb, so that the only thing I need to do is get up and walk. Like, it's bananas, right? And because the only thing I need to do is get up and walk, I can go that much further. If my brain was weighed down with, do we have the oxygen there? Do we have the food there? Is there enough rope? Do we have enough fuel? Do we have like all those little details? I can't go as far. Right. And so I think a lot of us set these like big, hairy, audacious goals and then think we're supposed to do it alone. Like, the bigger the goal you set, the more people on your team that you need to bring it to fruition so that when you get to the top, you actually enjoy it.
Well, the other thing that's the message I receive in that is that none of us are super people. None of us are Superman and, Superwoman. We can't do it all by ourselves. And with it, it's no different than in team sports. Michael Jordan didn't win the championships all by himself. He was the centerpiece, but he didn't do it by himself. And Tom Brady didn't either. So you can take any sport, anybody that's been uber successful, they didn't do it by themselves. So I like that because I think there's a disconnection in most of our minds, which is we can have big dreams and we can do it by ourselves.
So silly.
Maybe you can, but it'd be a lot easier if you have a support team.
Yeah. I mean, when you're at the top of the mountain, if you're there by yourself, it's a different experience than if you're there with others. Right. So, whatever you're climbing, is there a way to bring people with you and let them be a part of the experience? When I trained for Everest, I actually got the kids' school involved. It was like not on purpose. It was the fact that I went into the school and said, "Hey, I'm going to be gone. I'm worried about my kids. Can you give them a little more grace?" And the school's like, "Well, hey, can you come in and teach the kids about Everest and setting Everest like goals?" And I had a tracking device on me so the kids could track me. We had Wi Fi at base camp. So I could Zoom call into the classrooms and give them updates and blah, 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 blah. And so I was willing to let everybody be a part of it, having no clue what the outcome would be. But knowing that whatever the outcome was, it was gonna be a lesson, right? And we could all learn from each other and let's participate together. I tell you what, like, when there was hard points on the mountain and I knew, like, I had a whole bunch of kids watching, I had a lot more courage than if it was just me.
That was added motivation for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So think about this. You probably had thoughts of like slowing down or quitting at certain times. Then you go to your kids. You're letting your kids down. Not only are you letting your kids down from a son, mom-daughter relationship, you're letting them down because you're embarrassing them with their friends at school. That's like third party letdown.
Yeah,
And so when you absorb all that, you're like, I got no choice. That takes the negotiation out of it.
yeah. And when you take the negotiation out of whether you're doing it or not, now you free up that bandwidth in your brain to make it fun. Because I'm no longer being like, "Okay, am I gonna go? Am I not gonna go?" Now it's like, "Okay, I'm doing this. So how do I make it enjoyable? How do I make it memorable? How do I make this like an experience that I'm gonna carry with me forever?" And that gets it creative, fun, and changes the entire experience in itself.
Give us another lesson.
Sometimes you need to climb down to climb up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you're climbing a mountain like Everest or K2, you don't go from base camp to the top. I thought you did, but you actually go from base camp to camp 1. Camp 1, your body is not prepared to handle that lack of oxygen. So you eat a snack and then you head all the way back down to base camp. And that is like the worst trek ever. It's like the walk of shame. You're like, why are we going in the wrong direction? This is terrible. But it's not the wrong direction. It's part of the process because now that you exposed your body to that lack of oxygen environment over the next 3 days at base camp, your body physiologically changes and produces more red blood cells. So the next time you go up the mountain, now you go to camp 1, you're like, oh, that was easy compared to the first time. But you get to camp 2, and camp 2, you're like sucking wind, having a hard time getting your body to do what your brain's telling it to do. And it's just not ready to handle that lack of oxygen. So you hang out there, maybe stay the night, you go back down to base camp. You go back down to base camp so your body physiologically changes, makes more red blood cells, and now you can go higher up the mountain. And so when we're building businesses, launching products, like raising a family, it is not this straight shot up. It's this cha-cha. I'm going to go up a little bit, come down a little bit. I'm going to integrate what I learned, now know what I'm dealing with, understand different ways to handle this problem. We're going to come back at it. The book is called BreakProof because as a human, you're going to break. And in the break is the proof of what's working, what's not working, what you need to do to continue your climb. Breaking doesn't mean stop. It's a pause to assess and then act.
I love that one. That one's, whew, that's especially for young people. They think everything, and we did too, everything's linear. A straight line. Oh, we just go from point A to point B to point C. No, no, doesn't work that way. We're on a roll now. Give me number 3.
People over peaks. So when I was on K2, K2, for those listening, is one of the deadliest mountains in the world. 25% of the people that climb it die in its pursuit. And so it's a challenge just to show up. I had a teammate die in an avalanche. And so this teammate passed away, and I was a day ahead of him on the mountain. And the team came to me and they're like, do you want to continue to climb? You're a day from this summit. That's training, that's money, that's time away from family, that's all those things. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to summit. I'm going to go down and take care of my team. This mountain will always be here, but it's important how I show up. So I went down, we did a funeral, I flew home. The kids came back from camp and they're like, Mom, did you summit? I'm like, no, I didn't, but I had success. And they looked at me like, what do you mean? I'm like, who we show up as people is way more important than anything we'll ever achieve. And I'm proud of the person I showed up as. And so they're looking at me like a little confused. They're like, okay, like, I don't know if it's all landed right then and there, but like, are you going to go back? I'm like, yeah, I have to go back. Like, this is part of my world record. They're like, okay. So I'm training, and all of us that have had failure and these setbacks and these horrible things happen, like we just, we don't want to go back necessarily, right? Like that's the challenge of how do we go back to this environment that we had these bad experience and how do we rebuild? And so I'm training just to be ready for it, but mentally I'm not. But I couldn't let my mental prevent my physical from being ready because I figured maybe the physical will lead the mental to be ready. I don't know what one's going to win, but I need to do whatever I can to get ready. So I'm trained. It's 2 weeks before it's time to go back, and I get a phone call. And this phone call is from an individual I met the year before. Said, hey, I've been training to climb this year. You really inspired me. I'd love to make it happen. I just don't have the resources to do it. I'm like, well, I can help with that. Like it's easy for me to get stuff here in the United States. I'll bring stuff over. I'll put you on my team. We'll figure it out. So I put this person on my team, which gave me something to focus on besides the experience from the year before. Like, okay, I'm going to get like where this is going to happen. We're going to pull it together, blah, 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 blah. So I become the third American female to stand on top of K2. 30 minutes later, the first Pakistani female stands on top of K2. A Muslim female stands on top of K2 and shows little girls, like I have twin daughters. They like to see people in these environments because it creates possibility for them and plants the seed of curiosity. And so those of you that are listening, like we fail because we understand the problem from our perspective. If we have the courage to go back, maybe that failure was part of a bigger story that you don't know until you go back and live the thing and understand how it all comes together, because we don't understand until we look back. Going forward, it doesn't always make sense.
I like that and agree with that. And I think that when you look at even team sports, it's not the trophy. It's not the bonus money. It's not the adoration, recognition. It's the people. It's always the people.
Always the people.
It's always the relationships. And they're messy.
Yeah. Messy, 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 messy. Yes.
Like the quarterback's yelling at the receiver or vice versa. And it's like, that was just part of the journey. And that was where, hey, you know what? Sometimes we have to like check our ego and think about the other person a little bit more, see it from their perspective. And so people over peaks is beautiful because honestly, if you did this by yourself, it would be empty.
Empty. Well, and here's the thing. Like when you're on the top of these mountains, I was on Everest for 10 minutes, the top. I trained 1,238 hours for those 10 minutes at the top. And that's the same for all of our goals, right? Like you're excited because you got the promotion or the product launched or whatever, but then you're hungry for more because we're not meant to live at the top. Like we're meant to live in the journey of the experience.
Yeah, it's like getting a big check, taking it to the bank, or seeing a wire come in or whatever it is. You just look at it and then you go, okay, now what? It doesn't, there's not a, it's not satisfying to be at the top. It's more fulfilling to be on the way to the top. Next one.
Next one. Um, Let me think of what some of the other ones were. We did people over peaks, climb down to climb up, acclimatizing, 10 minutes at the top.
If they weren't so amazing, I wouldn't keep asking you.
I don't know. I'm off. I'm like, I don't know off the top of my head right now. I will tell you, like the experience of climbing, this is a metaphor for life too. So I climbed these 7 mountains and I think I'm done. I send all the stats and all the GPS files and all the photos and all the things to Guinness World Record. And then Guinness comes back to me. They said, well, there's actually a dispute on what's a continent. So we'd like you to climb 2 more mountains to satisfy all possible versions.
Mm.
I'm like, really? Like in 2023, we're not sure what a continent is? Like, seriously? Like, yeah, so there's this mountain in Indonesia. Most people think of Indonesia as part of Asia. When I find the person that thinks of Indonesia as part of Australia, we will have a talk. But if some people supposedly think Indonesia is part of Australia, which then meant the second highest point was in Indonesia, not Australia. And then for some reason, they're like, Russia and Europe don't really get along. And even though Russia's a part of Europe, we'd like you to climb the second highest point in Europe if we take out Russia. So then I had to go to Switzerland and climb a mountain there. And I think it's funny because, like, who gets to define the success? Right? And that's something we have to constantly battle with ourselves. Am I chasing success as society or am I chasing success on my own terms? And what does that mean?
I think that's a age-old battle. Is my success defined by other people? And can I see myself successful when in my own mind I am, but I don't feel it from other people? And that's another one of those particular moments where you get to decide, are you looking for validation from yourself or do you have to have it from other people? And all we have to do is go back to middle school and you're not going to get it.
You're not going to get it, friends.
Right?
The
So
game changes.
I with players all the time, I have these conversations where, let's say for example, in the NFL, guy's dinged up. He's got a pulled hamstring, whatever, something simple, soft tissue injury. And the coach wants him to practice in every drill, in every session, in every practice, and shames him if he doesn't. But the player knows his body, the coach doesn't. And the player knows that at the end of the day, regardless of how he does in practice, he's going to be judged by how he does in the games. And so at the end of the day, it's about having the fortitude, not giving the coach your power, and saying, I know my body and I'm not going to do this today. And if you're going to cut me for that, I'm cool with it. because if you don't, you lose your power. And so when you're looking for validation from other people, you're giving away your power.
Yeah. Yeah. I remembered a couple of the other ones from the book. Embracing imperfect starts is one of the big lessons. So I was going to Russia to climb and they lost all my luggage. And Russia was one of these climbs where I ordered 20 pairs of gloves and sent 19 pairs back because I wanted to have the dexterity, but also the warmth because it's a pretty technical climb. So when I landed in Russia, they're like, sorry, all your gear's not here. And the guide's like, climb now. Bad weather, climb now. I'm like, well, I don't have my stuff. He's like, we'll go rent it. I'm like, oh, we're going to go rent gear at the end of COVID in 2021 to climb this thing? Like, right. And I'm like, you know what? There's nothing in English on this mountain online. So I'm just going to rent gear and I'm going to go as far as I can and see what happens because it's better than not knowing anything. So we rent gear. Like I have to buy Scooby Doo underwear because that's the only underwear that will fit me in the store that we're in to like continue on. I mean, this is just bananas. The whole thing is sideways. However, like we climb this mountain and somehow we summit. Okay, I have to butt scoot down this thing. It is the most ugly performance I've ever done on a mountain because my toe like broke from like slamming into the front of the boot that was too big. And I was just like, I'm butt scooting. I don't want to break my toe anymore. It hurts so bad and whatever else. But no one asked what it looks like, right? They ask if you got to the top. And we got to the top. And 6 months later, Russia invades Ukraine. And I would not be able to go to that mountain and climb. And so it's just one of those things like if you're willing to let it be messy and ugly and not a perfect start, but you just hang in there and see what happens, you might be surprised.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really gets the luxury of having a perfect start.
I know.
And, I think what happens is, let's say you do, like I would say that your luggage isn't lost every time. You don't have that kind of scenario every time, but you do have a scenario that pops up where you deal with some adversity, some unexpected curveball, and you've got to deal with it then. So you're going to deal with it either at the beginning or along the way. And in both cases, you have a choice to either accept imperfection or quit, but it's coming.
It's
I think
coming.
that's with parenting, one of the things that my wife and I probably could have did a better job of is letting our kids fail a little bit more. And we were not helicopter parents and didn't let them, didn't put them in a rubber room and not let them fall. But the ability to fail is so powerful because once you learn that you can recover, once you learn that you can overcome, once you figure out that, hey, I can find a way, it's going to take what it's going to take, those kind of standards, you're unstoppable.
Yeah. Watch out, world. Game over.
But what most people do is they play a sport, they do an activity in school until they're told they're no good, until they try out and they don't get picked. And then they change. Then they do the next thing until they can run into the same situation of failure. And then hey, it wasn't for me. Must not be my sport. And they change gears again. Well, what's going to happen when you're 30 and 40 and 50 and you run into curveballs and obstacles and unforeseen circumstances? And the only way through it is through it. You can't go around it. And you can't get there without going through it. You can't get there if you turn around.
And the reality is like we love the challenge when we're really honest with ourselves. Like I look at my kids and when they've figured out a video game, they have no interest in it. Right? They're done. They check out. They're like, I don't want to play that game. I know exactly what to do and it's boring because I'm just going through the motions. And so they want the challenge. You want that puzzle because that's where you get to figure out who you are and expand what that means.
Absolutely. Okay. So let's go back to pre-kids,
Yeah.
pre-mountains, pre-accident. I understand you were a collegiate athlete at one
Yep.
point.
Yep.
What are some of and you played college soccer. What are some of the principles you learned as a young lady competing in high school and middle school and college that shows up on the mountain today?
Yeah. Yeah, that perfection thing, right? So there's a shot that you can take in soccer where you set it up perfect. The ball goes off your shoe. It like floats in the air. It drops a little bit and then hits the net. And it's like the best sound ever. It's the best feeling ever because everything is just doot, 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 doot. And so I would like this time that I was training, like I kept trying to set up the shot. Well, it takes a little bit of effort to set up the shot. My coach finally pulls me out. He's like, Drummond, I don't care what the goal looks like. I want the ball in the net. Okay.
No,
So he goes, get the ball in the net. And after you have 3 goals in the net, you can try all day long to get your pretty shot. But you have to give me those 3 goals first. And so after that, right, it's like the ball hit my shin, went in the net. The ball hit my foot, it like bounced off my knee, it did whatever. Like I got what they call a hat trick, which is 3 goals every single game for the rest of the season when I got out of my own way of what it was supposed to look like and just got it in the net. And so a lot of times, like I'm catching myself, I'm like, Drummond, like I'll say it like my last name, Drummond, are you focusing on the shot or are you getting it in the net?
okay. So how do you pass on to your kids that lesson of quit worrying about what it looks like?
Yeah. I mean, you have to demonstrate it. That was the beautiful thing about getting into mountaineering because I'm living life in parallel with them now, right? I don't get to go do 6-hour hikes every day because I have kids and a family and a business. And so when my son had soccer practice or a soccer game, I was that mom on the sideline with a 12-inch step and a backpack full of water bottles going step ups for an hour and a half. And at first, it was so embarrassing to him. Mom, why can't you just sit and drink a coffee like the rest of the moms? I'm like, 1, they're not drinking coffee. But 2, I'm not. I have to get this training in because I have this big goal. So it's going to look different than what the other moms are doing. They're not training for Everest. Luckily for me, like a few of the moms by the end of the season were like, I'm going to use this time to work out too. So they did the steps up with me, right? And we maximized the time. But I think you just have to do it so they see it and they experience it. Like every single time I leave the house, the kids know I'm going to run a flight of stairs. It's just this little tiny flight of stairs, but it adds footage to like my training every single day. And like it isn't the pretty workout in the basement that has the stairmaster and all these different things. Like how you get it done is you just grind and hustle and find little ways. I'm the mom that parks at the end of the parking lot for the grocery store. I need to train. I wear a 20-pound vest when I'm grocery shopping. I need to train. It looks funny, it's ridiculous, but I'm that mom.
You're crazy.
I
Mom, yeah, you should put that 20-pound vest on and then put like another 20-pound vest in the shopping cart. But now you get your arm workout in at the same time.
There you go.
Holy smokes. Okay. Wow. You know what? How you do one thing is how you do everything. And one of the lessons that you're sharing is that you can't be this perfect mountaineer that climbs these gigantic mountains without doing some stuff in preparation in between the ascents, because you're different. You're wired different. Your actions are different. Your habits are different. Your goals are different. So everything has to be different. It has to be in alignment. So the lesson you're basically teaching your kids and your friends and your kids' friends' parents is you want to do big things, you want to do hard things, you got to train for it. Otherwise, anybody could do it. Let's go back to the mountain K2 that 25% of the people don't make it. Did you have any mortality thoughts before you embarked on that hike?
Yeah. So I'm climbing mountains, right? So every climb, I was very intentional before I left of if I don't come home, what's the legacy I'm leaving? What's the story my kids are going to hear? How do I control the narrative? So like I made video clips of me giving them stories of like why I did this, what I'm doing, what I stand behind, and how we don't get to control our outcome, but we can control our input. And that's what we're here to do. So I mean, K2 was scary for me, I'm not gonna lie, but I also, like, tried to hedge that fear as much as possible and just did little things that probably made me annoying to climb with. But one of the problems with K2 is that it's so steep and the ropes go over rock. So if somebody's pulling on that rope, after a while, that rope gets shredded and you never know when that last pull is gonna happen. And so for me, they have the ropes up there. I would clip into 2 ropes. So if I grabbed the wrong one, I'd have another one as backup. And that took time, right? Like it took time to clip into 2 ropes and unclip out of 2 ropes and do little things like that. I climbed at night because then the sun's not out melting the snow, which then causes avalanches because it's cold and it's everything set. It's in the morning hours where that sun comes at a certain angle that you have the highest risk. Okay, well, I'm going to avoid that risk and I'm going to climb at night. A lot of people don't want to. I don't care. I'm not here to I'm here to come home. So like there's just little things that you have to be willing to do that hedge your bet against what you're doing.
Okay, so let's lean into this very simple concept, going the extra mile, doing the little things so that you can give yourself a better opportunity and a better probability of accomplishing whatever you're trying to accomplish without collateral damage, without losing your life, without all these kind of things that can happen, even in business. What is your perspective on that? Because obviously you lived it, you did it, but is that something you do in everything you do? Do you do the little things as a mom? Do you do the little things?
Yeah, like
As,
I'm that mom that puts in a little note in their lunchbox here and there. Or I'm that mom that leaves a little Post-it note on the steering wheel. Hey, drive safe. I love you. Every week we have you put it in your calendar. You're like, okay, how do I show love to the people that I care most about this week? What teeny tiny thing can I do? It's drop off lunch at school. It's send them an extra text message. It's the little things that are not little when we really look back. And so at work, can I make that one extra call? I know I'm better in person than I am on the computer. So I force myself to go to networking events that I normally wouldn't want to go to because I kind of get exhausted from them. But when I'm in front of people, that's when I get the deals and things to happen. So I have to recognize that I can sit in front of a computer for 10 hours or go to a 1 hour event and I'm going to have more results in the 1 hour event than the 10 hours at the computer. I need to maximize my time because I have so many things pulling on it.
love it. Okay, Jen, what is something I haven't asked you that you would like to share with the audience that when you woke up this morning, you're like, I got this on my calendar. Don't know this guy, don't know what it's going to be about, don't know how it's going to flow, but I want to make sure that I share this with the world. What is that?
We have to believe in ourselves before everybody else. You need to be your biggest cheerleader. Like being kind to yourself makes you stronger. And I think that's where a lot of people miss it. Like life's hard and then they pile on the hard. No, 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 no. Your job is to pile against the hard. And so if it's a big, hard day, you have more work cut out for you. We have this thing at our house called toothbrush talk. I learned this from climbing on the mountain. When I was climbing on the mountain and you brush your teeth, there's no mirror. So you just sit there and you brush your teeth and you look out at the world and you take it all in and you're like, wow, this is beautiful. I can't believe I'm in this part of the world. I wish everybody could see it. When I came home, I was brushing my teeth in front of the mirror. It was warm, comfortable, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm picking on myself. Oh, like I have bags under my eyes. Did I not sleep enough? Or like did not wash my face well enough? Or like I have a breakout happening? Or like I just wasn't doing nice things. And I only caught it because it was such a stark difference from the time I brushed my teeth on the mountain. And so then I talked to my kids. I'm like, hey, what do you guys think about when you brush your teeth? And we had this conversation. I was like, hey, we're going to have a new thing. When we're brushing our teeth in the morning at night, you're only allowed to say nice things about yourself. And I want you to just let's do this as an experiment. And if you need to tape things on the wall so that you can read them because you don't want to think of them on the moment, that's fine. It's like, I am smart. I am nice. I am kind. I work hard. I love big. Like whatever that is, you repeat that for the 2 minutes that you're brushing your teeth in the morning at night. That little thing is not little.
That goes back to just the simple concept that little over time becomes big thing. Changing one thing at a time over time becomes a lot of things and a lot of expansion, a lot of change. What you said at the beginning, though, I 1000% agree with. I've told my athletes forever that your coaches only believe in you to the degree that you believe in yourself. So if you're not a 100%er, if you're a 99.9er, they're a 99.9er. They believe in you in every moment except the high performance moment. The biggest moment of the game, biggest moment of the championship game, whatever it might be, they don't believe in you because they know you don't believe in you, but they believe in you the rest of the time. And when you believe in yourself 100%, it's a choice. It's a daily choice. There's no reason why you shouldn't. I mean, we're all special human beings. We're all chosen and picked. Our creator created us for this moment, for this point in time, to be born to who we were born to, all these things. Why wouldn't you believe if he does?
Right.
Right. And so I really believe that confidence is about what you do and belief is about who you are. And you can be 100%er and be really bad golfer.
Yeah.
You could be 100%er and be really bad at something. It doesn't matter. It's not who you are, it's what you do. And to keep those things separate, especially for kids, because their friends, their peers, their teachers, their coaches, they believe in them based upon how good they are. And it shouldn't be that way. There should be a situation where the person, that player that's on the at the end of the bench, you love that person just as much or maybe more than the people that are on the field or on the court as a coach. So, well, I want to thank you for joining me today on Pro Mindset. How can people find you, check out your book, find your book, make an appointment to have you come and speak to the organization, those types of things?
Yeah. So jenndrummond.com, double N, double N is a great spot to find me. The book is on Amazon. If you want to get into my email list, you can text the word Everest to the number 33777. We'll actually give you a video of the Milky Way galaxy going over Everest Base Camp. Anytime my life gets overwhelming, I love to look at that video and just remind myself that I'm this little person on a big planet circling the sun. And yeah, please reach out and connect. I love hearing from all of you, what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve, and how I can help.
Jen, what's the significance of 33777?
That's the number they gave me when I asked for, like, how do I give this video easily to people? So they said, I wanted sevens, but they could only give me 3 sevens. So they gave me 33777.
33 is an angel number, and you got your 3 sevens that go along with everything else.
There you go. Perfect.
Well, I'm going to thank you for joining me today on Pro Mindset. Everybody, go out and have a great day. Thank you for listening to Pro Mindset today.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Craig Doman, the host of Pro Mindset Podcast. I want to thank you for listening or watching today's show. And you can catch us every week on the normal social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all the listening podcast platforms. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And more importantly, I hope you gained a Pro Mindset insight. Please be sure to rate and review Pro Mindset Podcast. And I look forward to catching up with you on our next show.